Of course, I know this is dystopian, but it's not as far-fetched as we think it may be. AI is outcrowding people, is outcrowding professionals, or simply replacing them. So if you compare the human being of 2026 to the human being of 1826, we are superhumans. So going forward, we are going to spend most of our time, leisurely.
25 is actually the median age in the Arab world. We are the second young nations globally. So this number brings a lot of things to think about. It's an opportunity, but as well, it's a huge pressure. So I bring this information, I bring this data to Alain. What do you think about it? How this number resonate to you?
I think this is the biggest opportunity that the Arab world has and the biggest curse. It's the biggest opportunity because we have a vibrant population that is young, that actually is full of potential and has so much opportunity. It's also a curse because we have such a young population and we have severely underperforming economies, generally in the Arab world. So these people need to be taken care of. They need to be given opportunity. They need an environment that will allow them, that will enable them to grow, that will enable them to actually develop a future, provide for their families, etc., and be able to actually contribute to their economies. Sadly, what we currently have is a reality that is not as promising. I think we have the Arab world is a tale of two cities. You've got the Arab world, or the Middle East at large, and then you have the UAE, and now you have Saudi Arabia that actually has been basically running one of the most ambitious reform programs or reform agenda that any country has had. It still needs time, but it's actually doing much better, and it's actually opening up its economy. And it's actually starting to offer more and more interesting opportunities in this part of the world. And we've seen a reverse brain drain, or a start of a reverse brain drain towards Saudi Arabia. I think that's very important. The UAE has been a fantastic contributor to reversing the brain in the region, actually creating a brain drain towards the region from every country in the world, which we just discussed in the previous session. My fear is that a lot of the economies of our part of the world are not going to be ready by the time we need them to be ready. That's one. Two, the other bigger problem is the issue of the decoupling between growth and job creation.
Yeah.
And this is not a MENA issue, this is not a regional issue, this is a global issue. Going forward, growth does not require more jobs, it actually will require less jobs. AI is outcrowding people, is outcrowding professionals, or simply replacing them. So going forward, these people who are 25 years old of a median age are going to be either competing on their jobs with technology, whether it's robotics with better dexterity or AI, or are going to be totally outcrowded.
So where education will fall under all these? Education is definitely, it's a driving engine on how population will be expected to work in the coming future. Do you think we are well equipped to do that?
No. I think my biggest disappointment has been the education system globally. People today, you guys are today in university, you're being taught exactly the same way we were being taught. And exactly the same way our parents were being taught. The only difference is now you use more iPads and tablets compared to before, and you have Wi-Fi, it's available. And you can use now AI to actually ace your score, your tests. At our time, it was more about, we were not allowed to bring the calculator in the room. So it tells you how education has traditionally been very conservative, and unable to really kind of be ahead of change. Education has historically been always behind change, and I think there is a virtue of being a bit conservative, because it's about going back to basic values in terms of personal development of people. But I also think that the disruption that we're living currently is very different to what we've seen before. What we've seen before was always incremental. So it was, you've got technologies that were improving, and those technologies have been steadily improving, and the rate of change was not as fast as it currently is. It was always in the span of a generation. Now the rate of change is much faster. It's a matter of years, and it's becoming a matter of months. And the type of change is very disruptive. It's not incremental anymore. We're not talking anymore about how things evolve. We're talking how things are being replaced. So if I am 25 years old now, and I see it from all the questions I get from students, people are asking me, basically, what are we going to do next?
Yeah.
So we are not, our students, our young people are not prepared for the world that is coming. And this is not a word that will be here in 10 years. This is the word that's going to start to be here very strongly in 3 to 5 years. Typically, my answer to people is, do what you love, what you are inclined towards doing, not to find a job, but to enjoy it. The other thing is the education system is not helping us with, is basically helping people to actually live in a world where there will not be work as much as we know it today, either from a quantity or from a quality of the work that you know. So going forward, we are going to spend most of our time, leisurely. So how do we actually develop a sense of purpose to continue, to be happy? There is no competition anymore. It's like what you're seeing now, I think, in the war in Ukraine, or in this war in Iran, with Iran in the region, technology is so strong and so present and so potent that actually soldiers can't, they're just outcrowded. They have no place. When you got drones coming, you have to run for your life. There's nothing else
indeed,
to
actually,
do.
what you're saying, it's a kind of common sense, and it's a reality that, unfortunately, every technology, it comes with a heavy price. We are much more connected, but yet much more fragmented. The world is richer, but yes, inequality is just spreading more, and the gap is no longer narrowing, is just simply widening. What's your take on that?
It's the polarization of the world, whether it's in terms of creating wealth, whether it's in terms of our ability to actually talk to each other. I would say, ironically, we live in the most connected world ever, and we have the least capabilities to hold a dialogue together as human beings.
Yeah.
So we sit in this room, you're going to see most of us, if not all of us, looking at their screens, at their phones. This is a normal sight. Everyone are sitting together, they're not talking to each other, they're just looking at their phone. This is the reality of what technology is bringing to our life. It actually brings a whole world that actually wraps a bubble around everyone's head. And the issue here is also an issue of education to a large extent. Japan is a great example of a place where in the first 6 to 7 years, kids are given time to learn and understand the basic values of life. When kids finish school, they together clean their school. It's not done by a professional company that will come and clean the premises. It's done by the kids at school, which develop teamwork, which develop understanding and the appreciation of tidiness and cleanliness, which actually help basically people understand what is really valued. Is not the competition, is not who is better than someone else. It's your ability to work with someone else
Collective
as a team.
purpose.
Respect, appreciation of basically others and the spaces that you live in. The meals that are offered are meals that have to have protein and cannot have any type of processed food. By law in Japan, every school, every university has to have a dietitian that will design the meals. These are things that actually do not cost much money. But in our part of the world, what we have privileged, is other values. And these values are the values that are basically being overtaken by technology. The values that we will need going forward is the values to appreciate each other, to respect, and basically appreciating the stillness of life together, because we're going to be in a life that is much still compared to the lives that you've had until now. Because something else, not someone else, is going to be doing most of the work. And these are robots, and these are LLMs, or all forms of AI that's going to hopefully work for us and not us work for them. But we don't have an answer to that. That's just an open question.
That's the interesting part of all these debates that are happening globally, that unfortunately we don't have an answers. We have a lot of questions. Probably we know the reality, we know the problems, we know the challenges, but come up with the right answers, it's quite difficult. You just mentioned about the values, the past values and the now values and the future ones. And we actually, what we know what these values should be, but this is like a transition. How this transition can be done in a smooth or in a well-defined process way? How?
You can't have answers until you have discovered those answers. But what you need to do is always to think about the scenarios and the possibility and say, okay, what am I going to do? What if this happened, that happened? The difference between this time and the past is that this time the evolution is much faster. So in the past, we had time to discover the question, the answer to the question, because things were moving at a pace that was much slower. There was no urgency in getting to the answer, because it was not going to affect your life. It might affect the life of your kids or the life of your grandkids. So it wasn't something, the wheel was moving at a much slower pace. Now it's going to affect your life and the life of others. What we are not doing, because we're consumed by the presence, is our ability to understand two things. One is we need to shape those answers. But because the answers are not going to come from the sky, it's not going to fall on us. Humanity will have to shape these answers. We have to discover these answers together and decide what future do you want to give to, for example, AI, to take the example of that, to the world order that we are now, that now is being kind of repurposed to a large extent. These are questions that human beings have to answer. But to do that, you need to be able to hold a conversation. For that, you need to have trust. So if you look at the level of trust in governments and institutions globally, take the Edelman barometer of trust that they publish every year in Davos, it's the lowest ever.
Yeah,
okay. If you look at trust amongst human beings, it's the lowest ever. People trust technology more than they trust each other. They trust the technology that could overtake them more than they trust the ability to agree together how they're going to work in this world. So the reality is a reality of our ability to shape the answer for the future together, to imagine what is the future that you want, and say we want to keep technology, for example, there at the surface of humanity. And if there is a risk that this technology could actually go out, the genie get out of the bottle and basically become an alien intelligent on planet Earth that actually could be smarter, faster, and basically enslave humanity, it's not something that you want. I always take this example of when cloning was demonstrated with the Dolly.
The first.
That was a sheep that was cloned, okay? And the people realized that cloning is possible, and if you've done it on an animal, you can do it on a human being. So there was an agreement to actually say, you know what, cloning is banned. I'm not saying AI should be banned, but that was a biotech progress that was fantastic, that was simply banned because it had an impact on the human race. We've done that with the nuclear arms, with the non-proliferation treaties, where we said, you know what, enemies said we're going to sit on one table and we're going to agree how to actually reduce the level of risk and stop proliferation of nuclear arms, because at the end of the day, it drains resources and actually it's something that is in no one's interest, while they were in an arms race. Today, the non-proliferation treaty is gone and everyone is back to an arms race, and the other arm is actually AI, and everyone, whether it's China or whether it's some operators in the US, all of them are trying to actually develop AI as fast as possible, because whoever is going to cross that metaphoric finish line is going to be whoever is going to win and control the world. So everyone wants to be as close as possible to the finish line, although privately they would say, yes, we need to do something about it. But what are we doing about it? Not much yet. I think this is a big question that we will have to answer. But whatever is the future of AI, we know that AI is an efficiency tool and is a wealth creator by far, and it decouples the need to create jobs. So whatever happens, there will be less jobs.
Picking on what just you said regarding the trust versus technology, so undoubtedly, technology will be shaping our future. But the reality shows that technology, it's, I wouldn't call it a public good, but rather it's being governed and ruled by private sector, which is something—
in some countries, yes.
In some countries, or by big tech companies, whereby those big tech countries—
That's private sector.
That's private sector. Their evaluation is probably much more than 100 countries, or the revenue.
Whole continent.
The whole continent itself. But this seems like we are giving our souls to a untrust or trustworthy sector?
I wouldn't put it this way.
Yeah.
What I would say is the following. Since we discovered fire that allowed us to basically be able to cook proteins, which allows us to be able to deliver better nutrition to our bodies and to our brains, which allowed us to become the human beings that we know that we are now. Okay, and then we discovered the wheel. Okay, we have one way or the other, humanity have entrusted the regulatory role of any technology that had a broader impact on humanity, which we call public good. Okay, has always entrusted it to someone that had agency and had a constituency. So whether it is at that point in time, whether it was a feudal system, or whether it was a lord, or whether it was a government, or whether it was an administration or a department, you've always had, okay, someone who actually had constituency, had someone to report back to, okay, elected one way or the other, that would come and say, okay, for example, when we invented the wheel, inadvertently we invented roads. Okay, because we did not need roads before the wheels. When we so roads became the biggest technology for people to move and to allow the wheel to work. So roads were actually owned and continue to be owned by a public body in any country in the world. And we created eminent domain, and we said, even if it's not in the best interest of this gentleman, if I need to get a road through his property that is privately held and that is constitutional right to hold it, eminent domain allows me to cut through because there is a public good behind that. And then afterwards, for example, if you take TV, for example, or media, these were owned by governments because of the impact it had on masses, and with time they were privatized. Electricity was the same. So every technology that was transformative to human life at one point in time were either owned or regulated by basically a public body that had constituency. Today, if you look at AI is owned by individuals. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a fact. It's owned by companies that developed it primarily in the US, and it's owned by a government, which is China in China. So this is the kind of the landscape of AI ownership in the world today. All the other countries do not play in AI. They actually, some of them have a bit more or a bit less, but the real AI is happening here, and it's happening in China. So on the one hand, you have, let's say, 10 individuals ultimately that are the economic beneficiaries that pull the levers on AI, and they have more impact on global on the way things go globally, whether it's politics, whether it's economy, whether it's the conversation, whether it's anything, okay? And you have a government on the other side, that is China. And you've seen with the Trump administration a very big move that actually was criticized at some point in time, at the very beginning of the Trump second term, where actually all these big companies were brought very close, were brought under the tent. I think going forward, we do not have any constituency for those people to answer to. And if it wasn't for the market dynamics, these people wouldn't have been able to develop as much. They wouldn't have had the investments that are needed to do that. So we shouldn't throw the baby with the bathwater. But this is a point of reflection that we have to say, okay, how is this going to be owned, and how is this going to be governed going forward, and how essential, okay, this is for the future of the world. So I think these are questions that people have to think about harder. We need more people that are thinking forward than people that are thinking about today and yesterday. And we need the ability to charter a future where actually the future of humanity is, to a large extent, guaranteed as the apex species that actually controls the world, and not be controlled by another form of intelligence that humans have brought, but could actually get out of control. Of course, I know this is dystopian, but what I mean is it is dystopian, but it's not as far-fetched as we think it may be.
Definitely AI, one of the most, I would say, best aspects of it is probably progressing when it comes to medical health and drugs, and you already mentioned it as well as an example. But meantime, this accessibility is quite limited. We talked about the superhumans. Yes. We talked about the longevity. Longevity is, like, for instance, one of the most important aspects right now, driving a lot of economies. But being superhuman, it comes with a cost. Not everyone will have this access to these type of drugs or whatever is the technology. But that simply probably will lead to chaos or more fragile states.
So look, the reality is, could be so. Now, what I want to tell people, all of you guys in the room are superhumans. Why? Because 100 years ago, most people wouldn't have the health that we have and the age that we currently have. So if you compare the human being of 2026 to the human being of 1826, okay, we are superhumans. We're smarter, we're faster, we have better health, we live longer, okay? Right. We have ability to communicate, we've invented stuff, etc. The difference is going forward is that we're going to have superhumans that are going to emerge during the span of a generation. And what do I mean by that? It's people that will have access to chips, to better biotech, that will allow them to develop a better body and a better brain, a more capable brain. IQ is not going to be 150 of IQ today or 140 of IQ today is considered to be a very good IQ. Their IQ is going to be about 250 or 300. Okay? People today would tell you that if you look a bit at on the literature and what's happening on longevity, if you live for the next 5 years, you can live for the next 50. Okay, because of the huge progress that medicine is bringing, and basically our ability to better understand, to better use AI to actually find solutions to cure diseases, and also to reverse aging, which is basically technically possible. But and now, you know, in Harvard actually there is, I mean, FDA has approved an ability to start to try that on human beings. Okay, with Professor Sinclair. So we now have the ability to actually reverse aging, okay? And we've proven that on rats, we've proven that on skin, and now we are looking at that basically at a human being as generally. The other thing is we're starting to develop, I think everyone is familiar one way or the other with Neuralink. Okay, Neuralink today is getting to points where it has trials on people gaining cognitive capabilities that they had lost, their ability to move their limbs, their ability to communicate without moving, if they have mechanical issues, not neural issues, etc. So there's a lot of capabilities that are there, but there also be capabilities with AI, with certain type of chips that allow people to be smarter, okay, that will have an impact on the electricity in our brain, and that allow us to develop a better, a more strong muscular structure. Yeah. So we will, in the span of 10 to 15 years, in my opinion, start to see superhumans. So you've got AI and you've got robots and you've got superhumans that will come. Now, not everyone is going to have the financial means or the financial endowments to be able to acquire those superhumans capabilities. And this is where we're going to create this problem of basically of more polarization in society, where people will say, well, wait a minute, why can't I get that? Now, when medicine did one of the biggest leapfrogs with the invention of penicillin, etc., what happened is that most of these drugs became, for public good reasons, became available for free to people. Okay, at the time, someone that would have gone to the Amazon or to Africa and had penicillin would look like superhumans. They wouldn't die because of the typical cause of death for others. So I think here, we also will have to find a way of democratizing the access to these things to people. And the means are going to be there. The world that we know today, with ballooning public debt, with ballooning corporate debt, with budget that are unbalanced, with a lot of requirements on defense and money being spent, diverted from healthcare and from education, going more into defense or other things because of volatility and so on, is a world that's going to gain much more in productivity. Everyone's going to be wealthier, countries and companies. And that is going to create the ability to actually take some of that money to redistribute it, okay, or to reinvest it in people, whether it is through a universal basic income, whether it is through subsidizing or providing access to certain things that are too expensive for the individual, any individual average Joe to be able to access. But all of that needs policy. All of that needs thinking. All of that needs debate. All of that needs constituency. All of that needs decision-making processes that actually function. So we've never had something so much at stake so much exciting times ahead, so many abilities to actually find solutions, and so many inabilities to sit together and have a conversation. And this is where leadership in this time and age come into the fore, where we need better leadership, more responsible and responsive leadership than ever before.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really loved, enjoyed this nexus. Talking about leadership, I would like to talk about it from operational perspective based on your experience. So you led for around 7-8 years one of the leading multi-billionaire companies across MENA. And during, I would say, my research, everyone was actually praising Alain about what you did during the COVID-19. So you were a first mover. And that's basically my question. What was your North Star? Did you value more the people that been working in the Majid Futtaim company, or it was most importantly cash, liquidity, or the trust of the customer? So what was your North Star?
So look, I mean, the answer is very simple. It's actually basic human values.
Okay.
So of course, to be able to live up to your values, you have to be prepared for that. You know, it's like a human being. If you live an unhealthy life, okay, you're not going to be able to deal with illnesses and issues that come with age. So you don't live a healthy life because you're going to deal with X. It's going to allow you to deal with multiple things that you don't know. So if you're 25 or 30 and you're leading a healthy life and you continue to have the discipline to have a healthy life, you will deal with illnesses and with other things much better than anyone else when you are in your 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. If you're not, of course, you're going to have other issues. And companies are the same like individuals.
Yeah.
If you do not prepare yourself in good times to be resilient, okay, you don't prepare yourself to be able to actually have redundancy and capabilities that are set aside for bad times, and you can't predict what those bad times will be. For black swan events, basically. It's difficult, even if you want to live up to your values, you can't, practically, you might be unable to do that. So I wrote a piece recently saying that actually during crisis or during war, the only thing that matters is cash. The rest is narrative. If you don't have the cash, okay, you want to keep people employed, but you can't pay them. So there isn't much that you can do that. But the point is, you have to prepare for bad times during good times. But when it hits, greed shouldn't take over. And I think what we have done at MAF is to say, during bad times, which were the COVID times, we simply are not going to fire anyone because of COVID. And we're gonna stay true to our people. One of our values was togetherness, and this was basically the litmus test of togetherness. So what we did is very simple. We said we're not going to fire anyone. We didn't fire anyone because of COVID. We fired people because of performance or other stuff, which is the normal cycle, but not because of COVID. And I think this went a long way with people. But in a stakeholder economy versus a shareholder economy that you all know, in a stakeholder economy, you cannot disassociate the interest of your stakeholders. You have, as a leader, to actually perform for your people, your customer, your shareholders, your communities. You cannot say, I'm going to take care of my people and I'm going to forget my shareholders. I'm going to take care of my customers and at the expense of my people. Today, what's at stake, what's required from us is to be able to perform on all these fronts altogether. Because we live in a stakeholder economy. If you don't do that, you create frustration and polarization around you. And naturally, this will come to clash at some point in time.
Great answer. Really loved it. Going back to leadership, and I guess what I'm gonna, in fact, speak about, it's a matter of interest of everyone here. We are part of a large diaspora, and I believe the diaspora plays a very important role in shaping the future of our communities, probably through sharing knowledge, remittances. There are many different aspects. So my question to you, Alain, what do you think will be the role of diaspora in leading this way and helping the communities back home, especially with all these changes happening in the world? And as a Lebanese and yourself as a proud Lebanese, The diaspora plays a very important role in our lives
Yeah.
at the economical level, at different levels. So how this can be shaped?
So I'm smiling because my daughter is here sitting and smiling at me. So diaspora is very important.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think diaspora is less of diaspora today than it was 20 years back.
Okay.
Because in reality, every one of you guys here are so connected to your
Correct.
communities, to your countries, compared to when your fathers or your grandparents were, for example, traveling to study abroad. They used to call home maybe once a week or once a month, okay, from a payphone, and you know, at 12 o'clock on Saturday,
That was not easy.
he or she will call, okay, and if you miss that call, it's gone for another whatever, okay. So of course, I mean, this used to be diaspora because you were away. Now you're not away. You are connected. You're connected with your friends and family. You talk to them multiple times a day. You're connected to what's happening in your country, in your environment, in your network, in your bubble, globally, and so on and so forth. You're living with them live, okay. And sometimes you're more connected. I mean, from Boston, let's say, to Beirut or anywhere else than if you were in Beirut with them. So I think diaspora has moved. The concept of diaspora has moved a lot.
Okay.
And I mentioned it in my keynote speech day before yesterday. I personally think that we need, to the largest extent possible, for our people, for this generation of young people, to actually be connected to their countries, be connected to their economies, be connected to their communities much more than before. So what I told them, and what I tell them now, is go home. Go home, not physically go home if you don't want to go home physically, if your lives are built elsewhere, but actually be invested in what's happening at home. Be invested in, economically invested, financially invested, at work invested in the life of your society, in the politics that are easy to dismiss from afar. You are a force of good. You can speak truth to power because you don't depend on whatever the powers that may be in those places at that point in time. You have a voice, you have a technology, you're playing on a level playing field with anyone else anywhere in the world, and you have the ability to influence. This was not the case before.
Yeah.
This generation is the generation that is the most empowered and enabled to actually shape the future of its countries and communities.
And they have a lot of tools.
And this doesn't mean, exactly, and this doesn't mean that this doesn't mean that you shouldn't be interested in where you are living. But it's not antinomic. You can do this and that. I think the most important thing is for the Arab world generally, because the best minds of the Arab world have been exported over time, is to bring back those best minds towards the region and to bring them back towards their countries. Okay, we've sent our people to either study abroad or work abroad. Okay, especially in countries in the Arab world that have been drastically mismanaged in the past 80 years. I talk about, I mean, Morocco is a bit better now, but whether it's Morocco, whether it's Algeria, whether it's Tunisia, whether it's Libya, whether it's Egypt, whether it's Jordan, whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Iraq, let alone Palestine. I mean, I don't think any country in the world has been more mismanaged than those countries in the past 80 years. Okay, they have done so much harm to their own population, like you cannot describe it. Okay, now we can actually influence that. Now on the other side, if you have to look at the Gulf actually built nations. I mean, when Lebanon had money and had growth and had prosperity, like and was 70s. Open to the world and had technology, Dubai had nothing.
Correct.
Okay, the Lebanese got busy with their own stupidities, and basically the Gulf people decided they want to build countries, and they built one of the most thriving economies in the world, which is the UAE. Saudi Arabia is not doing this, is now doing the same. The other Gulf countries didn't do as well, but actually they're doing better than most of the region, but still they have a lot to go. What I want to say is these countries have exported their best brains and their best minds. Now we need to bring them back in order to shape these countries, in order to make sure that you have better governance, that you have better policy, that you have smarter and more capable people that are leading our countries. Because these countries are not going to get better on their own. They're not going to get better on their own. The current, or let's say whenever you have the wrong leadership, it's going to it's gonna induce another leadership that actually is to its image. And that can happen through civil society, it can happen through business, it can happen through politics, it can happen through culture, it can happen through anything. I think the most important thing is re-engage. Re-engage with your countries, re-engage with the communities, re-engage with your economies.
But don't you think, like for instance, you keep on giving the example of UAE, which personally as well, I agree with it, about like how leadership changed a country from a desert to a place, to a cosmopolitan city or cities. But don't you think the reason behind that, one of the reasons actually because change is being done the top-bottom approach? Well, if it was bottom-up approach, it will be much difficult. Which is the situation in the Levant or even North Africa?
Well, I can give you an example
Great.
with countries that have a very heavy top-bottom. Syria, Libya,
Yeah.
Algeria. You want me to continue? Iraq. You want more? Okay, so it's
Fair
not
enough.
the top, bottom, bottom up. It's not that. You have top, bottom that worked. You have top, bottom that did not work. You have bottom up that worked. You have bottom up that did not work. What I want to say is, you've got countries in our part of the world that decided to build nations and to build countries, and they were serious about it. Okay, others were laughing. That's their problem. 50 years later, we see who was serious and who was joking. Okay, but basically, I mean, look at Japan, look at Germany, look at Singapore, look at South Korea. All these countries were countries that were, I mean, that were in rubbles.
Yeah, yeah. After the
These
World War
are
II.
countries that were devastated.
Correct, yeah.
They had nothing. Actually, they were like Gaza today. They had to clear their rubbles. And in the span of 80 years, they built the most highest performing economies in the world.
Advanced.
Okay, they didn't have oil. They just had a political will and good governance and the meritocracy. That's all.
Human capital as well, yeah.
Okay, but the human capital, I mean, they breed people like we breed people. What's
Yeah.
the difference between a German, a Japanese, or an Arab? We all have 2 hands, 2 legs, a brain, a couple of eyes, and a couple of ears, and basically it depends what you do with them. So it's not that they have a human capital that's different. It's not that they are born with smarter people. No, it's about they've been thoughtful about their values, they've been thoughtful about their countries, and they decide that basically the generation that is coming is more important than the comfort of the generation that is running the country. So people actually went out of their way to make sure that they build economies that can actually flourish and they have to give people the opportunities for them to grow. What we've had is actually saying, I don't care about the future, I want to benefit from whatever I have today, and the future is their problem. And what we have done is we've sacrificed generation after generation after generation. And what we said is, which is the ultimate lie, we're doing this because of Palestine, we're doing this because of liberation, we're doing this because of whatever. These were all lies, because we didn't liberate Palestine. Okay, we did not bring back anything that was gone. Okay, if you look at the performance 80 years later, okay, say, where did we do it right, where did we do it wrong? What would they tell you? It's the fault of the Americans and the Israelis and the whatever. That's rubbish. It's your fault. These are choices that you have made. You could have done this and that. If you want to do that, you need to build economies, you need to build education system, you need to build healthcare. You know, I laugh when I see these guys in Lebanon, Hezbollah, saying we're liberating the south. Yeah, but we don't build any hospitals.
Still everything is on the
I mean, what do you want to resist and go into war, but with no hospitals? Did you build a shelter? No.
Yeah.
So what did you do? How do you want to resist? So it's very clear that people are simply using lies because they are just masking a reality where it's actually government capture and power capture. And today we have a generation of people, young people that are smarter, that know the reality, that are able, because of AI, because of technology, to really get to the bottom of things and understand what is right, what is wrong, and being able to influence and have a great ability to basically have the louder voice ever, and the biggest capabilities to influence the course of events. So it's a different world we are living in, and this is why I'm so bullish about this young generation.
Couldn't I agree more. In fact, handling the baton, like you gave the example of Japan and Germany, it's being done in a proper way despite all the challenges. But unfortunately, in our region, no, it's not being done in the right way. So
yeah, I mean, I laugh about Lebanon saying we were not allowed to build an army. Well, you know what? Japan was not allowed to build an army,
right as well.
and Germany was not allowed to build an army.
But yet, they were able to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not true.
So basically, everything relies on the new generation. One last question at my level, and I guess then I will open the floor for your questions. There's still a lot of topics, frankly, we did not touch base. I hope this will be as well at your side. Something very important I didn't mention during my introduction, I missed it, is actually Alain just wrote a book recently published. It's called Leadership. I always tend to forget the name, that's why. So next, leading through the new realities. Just I would like to ask you, there are probably thousands of leadership books. So what's new about it? That's one. What led you to write this book?
So nothing is new about it. It's different.
Okay.
Most leadership books talk, all leadership books talk about leadership, which is the basics, the pillars of leadership, how do you lead, whatever, etc., etc. I wanted to write this book because this is about leadership going forward, which is very different. Leading going forward is any leader, whether we lead ourselves, we lead teams, we lead businesses, we lead families, we lead companies, we lead countries. Okay, we're going to be leading through 4 realities, and these 4 realities are here to stay for a long time. One is disruption. Adil called it tuna. Okay, you can coin it the way you want.
Coin it whatever.
The reality is volatility and disruption, and this is going to be there for a very long time. Why? Because we are exiting a world that does not work anymore. Okay, simply because the structures of the world post World War II have not been modernized at the right time, and basically have not been turned into to become more purposeful about the reality of the world today.
Yeah.
Too many countries have benefited from them and basically paid lip service to them, and you got to a point of frustration and polarization where basically most countries are saying either loudly or not so loudly, this is not working anymore, we need something new. I don't think anyone disagrees on the fact that it's not working. They don't agree on how to build something new. So you've got some countries like the US saying, I decide and you guys follow, others saying, no, we have to have a conversation, whatever that is. So we have a world order that was rule-based, and these rules are changing. And as long as we're going to be in this middle where we're trying to find the new rules, we're going to have influences and we're going to have volatility, and this is not going to stop until we land on new rules somewhere. And you have too many strong nations and stakeholders for this to take some time before you land somewhere. 2, we have AI and technology disruption, and AI and technology are not anymore incremental. Any leader is going to basically face with a new reality, and this reality is the fact that businesses are being crowded by AI and robots. So how do you lead in that context? 3, sustainability. We live in a world, I know sustainability has taken a back seat and ESG has taken a back seat post-COVID, and especially post the Ukraine war. Europe said, sustainability is not my problem, I'm going to go back to coal, I'm going to go back to Gaza because cost of energy was rising, etc. And this is because there was no redundancies in Europe and no further forward planning at all. There was absolutely no harmonization of energy policies, for example, or even arms capabilities. So basically they said, everything we talked about, right or wrong, we're going to forget about them because we need to heat people's homes, we need electricity, we need whatever. So that actually took a bit of a backseat, but we still have to live in a world that needs to be there for us to survive. I think there are some good news. On one side, for example, the ozone layer is actually getting restored by 2040, between 2040 and 2060. Now we know that the ozone layer would be back to what it was. AI is helping us a lot, getting smarter and better at sustainability and transition to new energies. So there are some good things, and there are some challenges that we'll have to deal with. And finally, the 4th reality is talent, because there is no leadership if there are no people. You only lead people. You don't lead plants, you don't lead animals, you don't lead machines. You lead people. And the leaders of today and tomorrow are going to be dealing with leading people that are outgrafted from their jobs, that are frustrated, and will still, some of them will make the biggest difference ever possible. So leading people is a very different art, is a very different science compared to what it used to be. Okay. So it's not anymore about just the basics of leadership. It's about your ability to lead not in a world that is changing, not in a world that is evolving, in a world that is disappearing. So how do you do that? How do you inspire confidence? How do you inspire people to actually say, to see you as a role model? Because there's no leadership without role modeling, okay? But what are you going to role model for them? That's very important. If you have today a team of 100 people or a team of 10 people, they'll most likely become a team of 2-3 people in the coming 3 to 5 years at best. So leadership is going to be very different. And how do you lead all these people that are outside of the workspace in the way we know it, the way we currently know it? That's another big thing that we need to keep in mind. So this is why I wrote the book, because it's leadership going forward, which is very different. And also because I believe that in our part of the world, CEOs don't write, let alone if they read. And I want to encourage others to write more books. Yeah. I think it's one of the last books that will be written by human beings. Most books now are going to be written by AI.
Makes sense,
and I don't think we'll need books anymore as well, because of AI. Our ability to learn is going to be different, to communicate knowledge.
Probably universities.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to be, but it's going to be different. So this is why I wrote the book. Part of it is to role model for others. And I hope others will write books as well. I think it's very important for the maturity and the evolution of our nations, for the private sector to partake into the conversation, and also because I wanted to project leadership going forward the way I see it.
Great, impressive. I will turn the mic to the audience.
Finally.
Any questions, please, to you. Where's the mic, just in case?
I see it a bit,
Yeah. No questions. How we can? Fadi. Yeah.
Thank you, Alain, Ali, for this very insightful conversation. Just I have two questions. First one is, if you are the Arab leader for the Arab world, and literally, I mean the Arab world.
If I was?
Yeah, the leader.
If you will be
the leader of the Arab world.
But what will be your 5 priorities, let's see, for the coming 10 years? Because I think the lot is changing. I know we have our own issues and challenges. So this is one of the perspectives. Okay. And the other one, all these challenges that you mentioned and you highlighted because of technology, AI stuff. And the second thing for I know many of the students here may be looking for jobs in the coming years. What are the traits that you're looking for in any fresh graduate that come to work for you?
Okay, so that's an easy answer, because I will never be the leader of the Arab world. So you won't be able to hold me.
No pressure.
to hold me to what I say now. But the first priority would be the full integration of the Arab world. I have personally published white papers about that 3 times. And I still believe that this is very important and one of the biggest impediment for growth in the Arab world. There is a reason why the Arab world is punching below its weight and continues to punch below its weight, and this is the fragmentation of its economies. We have too many countries. I'm not saying that any of the countries is not relevant, but what I'm saying, we have too many countries that actually are too fragmented, so we do not have economy of scale. If you look at the US are less people than the Arab world, if in aggregate. Europe is less people than the Arab world in aggregate. Okay, but they have much more vibrant economies, and the economy of the US is 10 times the size of the economy of the Arab world. And I'm talking about Morocco to Pakistan. So why is that? Because it's integrated. So what we need in our part of the world is integration. And you have seen that countries that have the ability to integrate, whether it's Europe, put aside what UK did with Brexit, okay, whether it's Europe, whether it's the US itself, or basically US, Canada, Mexico, whether it's Mercosur, whether it's ASEAN, all blocks of countries have been able to integrate. To integrate, they were able to actually drive substantial economic growth. So the big thing that we need to do in our region is better integration. And integration, what do I mean by that? Is free movement of people, goods and services, banking, and data. Okay, that's all. You don't need more investment. You just need, if you want to work in the Arab world, you need 17 visas to be able to move. Okay, as a company, it's even more complex. etc., etc., etc. We need to have a better integrated world. It is possible. Of course, it has its challenges because some people will benefit more than others in certain things, while others will benefit in other things. And sometimes they're not prepared for that other thing. So for example, you have a country that have a big industrial base, but actually if they open up, they will lose on the industries, but they will gain on services, but they're not so good on services, and so, etc. So there are ways today to actually do that in a way that is much smarter, that allows also for young entrepreneur to actually have access to a much bigger market. So why don't we have enough unicorns in the Arab world? Because we don't have a market. Mm-hmm. So that has to improve. So one is integration. I think integration is very important. Two, it's actually agency. We have to decide that we are going to solve our problems. We can't continue to actually wait for someone else to come from somewhere else to solve the problems of the Arab world. Okay? So agency is very important, whether it is intra-countries or inter-countries in the region. So I think more agency, in my opinion, is very important. Three, we have to, I would do a big effort on shaking up our societies, rebuilding or reprioritizing our value system. Okay, what matters, what should matter for Arab world, what's actually aligned with our values, with our beliefs, whether we are Muslim or Christian or Jewish or whatever you are, wherever you come from. Our beliefs are beliefs that actually value human beings, not lying to human beings, not lying to each other. Okay, I would refound our educational system in order to basically make sure that you have an education system that will prepare people for the future. And the future is more value-based than knowledge-based. Knowledge is available, it's ubiquitous, it's there. Anyone can know it. Okay, there are basics, of course you need to know how to read and write. Okay, but beyond that, what you really need is actually a refound of your value system. Okay, because knowledge is about values, is about interrelationship between human beings, and knowledge is available to us. You don't need any more human beings that are bottles that you fill with knowledge, okay? And whenever they need something, you open up this bottle and you pour some knowledge. The knowledge is available everywhere. So the whole education system has to change. The third thing that, in my opinion, is extremely important is actually we need to understand who are our friends and who are our enemies. We can't continue to fight like Don Quixote. Okay? And we have to understand that sometimes you have to make difficult decisions in order to actually acquire a future, not to sacrifice the future on the altar of the past.
Probably unpopular. Yeah.
And this is something that we have seen. The Arab world in ancient times was leading globally. I mean, I said it in my keynote. I don't want to repeat myself for those who were there, but we invented zero, the figure. We invented algebra. We invented modern medicine, hospitals, astronomy. We actually gave back to the world the Greek philosophers because they were being destroyed, and basically the Mesopotamians wrote them down, etc. So our part of the world has been leading in knowledge, in science, in innovation. Okay. And then, of course, we went through a second phase of total, I would say, domination with the Ottoman Empire. Okay, and then the third phase, where we are now, is a phase that we need to write. Okay, we had a very unfair, in my opinion, reality, which is the Palestinian cause and losing Palestine. But at the end, we never had the strategic discipline to actually regain Palestine. We just talk about it, but we don't do much about it, which is very sad. And what we have done is that we brought ourselves into bigger problems for every country. So we had a problem in one country, we made sure this is a problem in every other country. It doesn't, generalizing the problem doesn't solve the root cause. What you have to do is to focus on the root cause. We didn't do that. Now we need to move forward and to say, okay, what do we do that? And how do we put really a plan to make sure that Palestine continues to be there and continues to exist? But a serious plan, something that actually works. So yeah, this is what I would prioritize if I was there. If this is clear, you will see that the economy will flourish much better. You will see that people will live happier. You will see that our ability to actually influence and to be leading and to be a positive contribution to the world would actually be there.
This answered the first and the second question. You
The fresh grads.
Yeah, the fresh grad.
The fresh grads, look guys, I'm not sure I'm going to be hiring people when you're going to become, you're going to be looking for jobs, so it doesn't matter. I am very, very pessimistic about the future of jobs.
Yeah.
I was here at Harvard, I think with Anthony there. We had the fireside chat as well, talking about the future of jobs, the future of work, and I told them the future of work is no work. And that was a month and a half or 2 months ago. I don't think it's more work now. It's even less work. And it's going to be less work. So as I remember, I had a student from the law school, the Kennedy Law School, asking me, okay, I'm a lawyer, what do I do? I told him, drop out. So if you are there to find a job, you're not going to find the job that you are there for. If you like legal training, do it because you love it, not because it's going to lead you to a job. I am not sure if this, I mean, Maria is here, she's my daughter, she's looking for an internship in a tech company in the US, it's very difficult to get it. And despite that, I'm not sure she's going to find a job at the end. Why? Because jobs are going to be overtaken and already overtaken by AI and by robots. Is it a matter of 2 years? Is it a matter of 3 years? Is it a matter of 5 years? I think 2028 onward is going to be very different. If not 2028, 2029. So if you want to hire people today, what would I be looking at? I would be looking at the ability for these young men and women to live in a world that is highly disrupted. I don't care about what they know. What I care about is their value system and their ability to actually resist a very difficult situation where they will be outcrowded and competing for their work with technology and AI. I think this is where, and for that you need a very, very high level of adaptability.
Yeah. Someone raised their hands there?
I think we have a hand here, we have a hand here, a hand here, a hand here.
So let's start from there. Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Noor Dabusi. I'm from the Atlantic Council. To your last point, I find it very interesting because I recently saw an interview with the CEO of Anthropic, and she was actually, I think she was a linguistics or an English major, and she was actually arguing for the opposite, that nowadays we need more, with the rise of AI, and with this growing pessimism about the future of jobs, she was arguing that we're going to need more people focusing on humanities. So just curious about your thoughts on that.
So I think humanities is great as a training and formation, absolutely. But I'm saying these are not going to lead to jobs. They are going to lead to better occupations, but not jobs. I agree with her. I think there is a revalue of humanities that were severely undervalued in the past 30 years. Everyone wanted to be a doctor, an engineer, whatever, a lawyer, etc., or have more technical jobs, CS graduate, etc. I think humanities are definitely coming back.
Ethics. Yeah.
Whether it's philosophy, whether it's language, whether it's arts, etc. I think these are formation and training that will be very important going forward, because these are things that people will do because they like them. They may not necessarily lead to a job. They might lead to something else. But I think that whether it's psychology, I mean, of course, medicine, all types of medicine. I don't think human beings will be anywhere near medicine in the future. But I think psychology, I think a lot of aspects of the soft power of human beings are going to be, to a large extent, supplemented or supplanted by AI and technology, or augmented human beings, which I call superhumans.
Great. We still have 5 more minutes, so let's take a round of other questions. The lady over there,
Maybe you can take 3 questions.
So we're gonna do a round.
So everyone gets to ask the question.
My question is: can leaders be spotted? So, for example, if you walk in a to spot a leader. For example, if you walk in a room and you take a look on the people there, can you see or say this person is a leader?
Everyone is a leader.
How?
So there is this thing about leadership being innate That's rubbish. Everyone is a leader. You are leading yourself, you're a leader. Now, you may not be good at leading others. That might be an acquired, something you need to acquire over time. You can work on your development. But no one cannot lead others. It's about how people work on themselves. You may not be fit for leading others because you haven't worked on those capabilities or you don't like it, but it's not that you can't do it. Because the most difficult thing in life is leading yourself, not leading others. Leading others is very easy. Some people boss others around, some people inspire others, okay? But the most difficult person to lead is yourself. And I always give this example, okay? I've been trying to lose weight for 50 years. Okay, I'm such a good leader. I'm unable to lead myself. We are the most complacent with our own selves. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, okay, and you reflect, you find you're the most complacent with yourself. You find 1,000 reasons why you didn't do this, why you didn't do that, why you look this way, why you don't look that way. Okay? You sit with people, tell you, yeah, it was very tough, I had whatever, I had this, I had that. We find excuses for ourselves. We are, what we call this for others, we called it empathy. We gave it a name. We gave it empathy. But we are plenty of empathy for ourselves. Okay? So what I want to tell you is everyone is a leader. Leading others is a choice. And you have, of course, you have some time to develop a skill set. Some people could be better at it, like I could be better at tennis than basketball. But if I train, I'll be good at both.
So yeah, question.
Thank you.
Another one, 3. So we have 3. Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for a lot of the interesting discussions. Amir Farhat, work in tech. And I have sort of a front row seat to seeing AI begin to automate work for engineers and elsewhere. I've come to realize that it's like a skill of rolling up your sleeve and being able to understand and get things done. It's differentiating people in the workforce today, at least in my field. I'm curious to hear from you, what is going to be the differentiating quality of people in the future of employment when AI replaces more and more positions? Like what's their added value for being there?
Clarity.
Let's take 2 other questions.
Clarity and adaptability, I would say. But we can come back to it.
Behind you.
Yeah, في كمان there's one.
في كمان حرام.
Hi.
لا, we'll give you the mic.
We'll give you the mic. No worries.
All right. Okay, I'll try to be quick. My name is Ruxanda, and I'm one of the mid-career MPA students here, graduating this year. So we recently had an interesting discussion with the creator of US AI Act here in US, Dean Ball, who actually believes that in the future of AI, nation states might not be around as we know them. I'm curious from a governance perspective, do you think, and I speak about future, it's 10 to 15 years from now, do you think we are moving towards a world where nation states and institutions as we know them will be redundant because AI will, in a way, be such a better governor than us people? Or do you think that we're moving towards a world that is more fragmented, like you mentioned, the Arab world, maybe Western world, whatever, affiliations we're thinking, and where it's a world of course, a lot of sovereign AIs, fragmentation, and so on? Thank you.
Okay.
Another question behind. Yes, hold. The gentleman. Yes. Well,
thank you. Thank you, Ali. Thank you.
So who's doing a better job, he or you?
I think Ali.
You think Ali?
I want to go back to the first point. I think you mentioned 3 things I wrote down. Integration, agency, and reprioritization in the Middle East as countries. What do you think your thoughts on how easier or harder it is to do post this conflict? Because many of the countries in the conflict have different priorities completely.
Okay.
Last question. Madam.
Salam Marzouk from Lebanon. Thank God I'm retired. My question is, you were talking about AI.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to read AI. There are so much noise in AI. How can you find which one is real news or whatever knowledge, and which one is sometimes is really not a knowledge? It's just AI to make a noise. You know what I mean? So how can we differentiate between these two?
Okay. في حدا وراك
بعد في اثنين please.
Two. I think there's two more questions.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see.
Hi, Alain. Thank you, Ali, also. I have a question regarding you being on Shark Tank and investing in startups and entrepreneurship. Are you doing this for financial reasons, or is it obviously not maybe?
It's a very bad financial
is it
decision.
because you believe that entrepreneurship is the best way to impact positively our Arab world or the region? It's not.
It's not. I'll tell you why.
Please.
Last question behind, gentleman wearing blue, and you have a set of 5-6 questions. Inshallah.
Hello. So in the age of AI, if someone is an entrepreneur trying to develop a business that he think that it might be obsolete in the near future, do you think he should continue trying to do that, or he should start to pivot and think of what is not going to be obsolete in the near future and try to adapt accordingly?
Okay, so let's start with your question and then move through the room. I think the most important, the most salient qualities going forward are going to be clarity and adaptability, because technology is going to become conversational. So we will not need in the future any technological background to be able to do anything with technology. Technology is going to become conversational. It's going to become like just having a conversation with anyone. You don't need a special way of giving a command. I think coding today is a great example of that. So what you need is people understanding what they want and what they need. So you need clarity. And you need adaptability, because the environment around you is going to be shifting so fast. So the ones that will be kind of rooted in one thing and not want to change their way are going to be left out. So clarity and adaptability, in my opinion, are going to be the most important thing. Going back to AI, so AI is not knowledge. Knowledge is has been produced by human beings for the past 40,000 years of recorded history, and AI uses that, and now AI is starting to produce its own knowledge. So you will have, depending what you use AI for, you will have to decide which type of reasoning and type of articulation works better for you. So for example, if you are, writing something today, Claude, for example, is the best AI, for example, for writing. Okay? If you are looking at solving mathematical mathematical complex reasoning problems, you might need to go to something else. If you're looking at looking up history or making sense of religious beliefs, it might be something else. So we will always have 4 or 5 at least AIs that will be out there that will compete. Some of them will get better at times. Some of them will move. But this is like, it's your ability to say, I want to read Alain Bejjani, or I want to read whatever, Ali Noueihed, or I want to read whatever. You will prefer this over that.
That's about AI when they have to read.
This is about the models and basically how they were fed, the biases that were already infused in them, and their ability, now to feed themselves. But what I want to tell you, because I saw both of you got excited on biases, AI has biases, but human beings have more biases than AI. So we need to basically get to a point where we start to be comfortable with biases that technology has, because we've been very comfortable with the human biases. And let me tell you, humans have much bigger biases and much more hallucination than AI. So we are not we should be as strict with humans as we are with AI, and not the other way around.
About
and then I think investing shark,
and then conflict.
So investing entrepreneurship, I'll tell you why I'm saying no, because I know this is not a popular answer, and in our part of the world we praise ourselves to be big entrepreneurs, as if it's the utmost thing to do. We are entrepreneurs. We have, we fight. We're resilient, which is a very good thing. It's not bad, but they don't build economies. Economies are built by large companies. Innovation, capabilities, efficiency are built by large companies. I'll give you an example. One of the largest economies and the most underperforming economies is Indonesia. Indonesia is the economy that has the largest number of SMEs in the world by population. Okay, SMEs don't have the ability to invest. They don't have the ability to innovate. They have the ability to survive. Okay, so efficiency is driven by large companies, and this is why the U.S. company is the U.S. Economy is one of the highest, the most efficient company, is because of the number of large companies it has. What we need in our part of the world is more large companies. I'm not saying entrepreneurs are bad, but what I'm saying, they will not build you the type of economy that you will need. You need entrepreneurs, but you need large companies. To have large companies, you need large markets. And absent of that, small SME-based economies are actually inefficient economies. So I'm sorry, I know it's not what you want to hear, or what anyone would want to hear. It's not common wisdom, but it is wisdom. Sorry, you had a question, the lady in red.
Just a couple of...
Can you just remind me what was? Then I will go to the last one.
Yeah, so basically I was asking about the future of governance.
Yes, that's a very important question. I agree. I did not touch on that today because we can spend another hours talking about it. I deeply believe that one of the biggest consequences of technology moving forward and AI is that actually the model of the nation states and the model of governance that we today take for granted is going to be dramatically changed. I don't think the countries will continue to exist the way they are, and I don't think governments will continue to exist the way they are. We will need a different form of governance. Some people have ideas. No one has a solution yet. I think it's going to morph into something new because of the huge interferences that you currently have by people who actually are the ultimate beneficiaries of AI. So even representation is going to become very different going forward. The idea of country as in, you're going to see two things that are interesting. One is people are going to become, and you've seen that for the past 20, 30 years, we've seen a lot of belonging that's becoming deeply rooted and even becoming more granular. So people are going to become, they're going to become more granular in their belonging. Countries will continue to exist, but national and local identities are going to emerge even stronger as well. But as political entities, we're going to see a lot of changes. And finally, what do you do with if you are an entrepreneur today and whatever business you're going into is going to be disrupted, you just move on. So adaptability is very important. You might start a business today and basically AI takes over in 6 months or in a year or 2 or 3, you just move on and find something else. And you have to basically factor in that the value, because when you are an entrepreneur, whether you're a startup or whatever, you want to build value. And at some point exit one way or another to a liquidity event or something like that. The value that you are building is basically relies on two main pillars. One is the business model that you have, and two, your ability to actually expand it, okay, at the cheapest possible way with the least customer acquisition cost that you can have, and basically gain market share in the fastest possible way. So the cheapest way to gain maximum market share. This is what the markets value today. Okay, if the business model is going to be overtaken by AI, which could be the case, in reality, the pillar of the value creation that you're after is gone. So there's no point in staying into it.
We already surpassed the time by 10, 15 minutes. Just last question about conflict.
Anthony, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The question was about conflict in the region, and do we think the current conflict is actually ripe for these priorities to happen? Look, I have a view, in my opinion, and the view is the following: the biggest progress in human history come as a result of need. Okay, one of the biggest curses of our region was that we have been oblivious to our need for a long time. I think the current war has brought to the table a lot of very, very, very valid things. Okay, one, we have a neighbor that actually does not want us well. That's a fact, okay. Because that neighbor has decided that actually it's okay to try to destroy my neighbors because I want to influence someone that I cannot touch too far away from me. Okay, so this is not the type of neighbor that you want to have. Okay, It's like, you know, you have neighbors that are fighting, and then your neighbor decide to come and actually throw a fist fight with you because he wants to tell his wife that actually he's stronger than she thinks. Okay? So it doesn't make sense. 2, we have seen that actually the region cannot be held anymore hostage to someone else's conflict. 3, we have seen that the wealth of this region and its ability to actually contribute to globally is so important, and actually has global repercussions. So we need to act even more responsibly with it, which is something that this conflict has demonstrated, a lot of responsible acting with it, a lot of redundancies that have already been built in. Okay, today Saudi Arabia is still, I mean, even with the Strait of Hormuz being totally closed, Saudi Arabia have been still exporting about 60% of its oil. So, the UAE has been expanding 60-70% of its oil. Financially, they haven't lost much because they gained in price, and they have less export. So this is going to be better. 3, the region has seen that the ability to actually work together is also important and sort the issues rather than keep the issues to infect and become much more difficult to solve over time and basically call in third party or foreign interference. So I think that this conflict is going to have a positive impact on the region. But of course, it also depends on how we as leaders and the region's leaders actually grapple with that. Are they able to do the right decision at the right time? I am personally positive about that, but this is just the way I see it. I don't have enough empirical evidence to prove it, but I think the future will give us that. Thank you.
Finally. Alain, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
For all the insights you shared. Thank you.